I'd like to talk about negative ads.
Yep.
A study released this week about a statewide review of a lot of ads being run for this campaign for many different races, estimated that fully 80% of those ads are negative attack ads. And whether it's from an individual candidate or from an advocacy group or a PAC, there's just a lot of negativity on the airwaves. Now, every one of those ads is approved by a candidate, and that's you or your opponent. So why is it that you've chosen to frame your campaign in terms of what the other guy didn't do or isn't or can't do? And how do you give the voters insight into what you want and take a more positive approach to your message to the state?
Well, I smile on that one because I think last Wednesday there were 6 different attack ads up against me and only one ad. In fact, I think the story I had the other day showed I was outnumbered 2-to-1 on ads since the primary election.
Funny, the mayor just said the same thing about you.
Well, I mean, I would point out the fact that the mayor on Sunday got a pants on fire, and all the ads that were reviewed this week all got true by me. So I would take his assessment of those ads and compare them to what the facts are. AP report shows 2-to-1 attack, or not just attack ads in general since the election, the primary election, have favored Barrett's campaign over my campaign. Think about the whole scope. Think about not only here but across the state. What do people talk about? They talk about certain themes that we've talked about in this campaign. All of you probably joked about my brown bag. In fact, even the attack ads run attack ads mimicking characters in my brown bags. Well, think about every one of those brown bags. Do I mention my opponent in any of them? I ran an ad talking about how I pack a lunch. I ran an ad that you gave a true to that talks about my salary. I ran ads talking about the Saturn I drive that's got 100,000 miles on it. I ran an ad talking about my record, what I've done in office, the things I read off here before. I ran an ad talking about my plan for 250,000 jobs. None of those ads mentioned any of my opponents. They didn't mention Mark Newman. They didn't mention Tom Barrett. Now, occasionally I run ads, like I'm running right now, where I compare. I said, I think it's legitimate. You know, people ask, what's the difference? We talk about how I think the mayor supported a fairly radical environmental agenda that would cost us jobs. Then I tell what I would do in contrast to that. So I don't think comparisons are bad. Frankly, I don't mind if Tom Barrett wants to run a comparison on that. What I do mind is when he just bold-faced lies. I mean, again, that's why you guys gave the Barrett campaign the pants on fire, because he took your headlines and made headlines that weren't there. To me, that's just wrong. Or when he talks about stem cell research and implies I oppose that, I mean, that's pretty personally offensive to me, considering my wife's a type 1 diabetic. I got 2 people in my office who have MS. I want to cure more than anybody else. I support stem cell research. What he says is just an outright lie. Now, if he wants to distinguish the two, that's one thing. But running an ad that says something that's blatantly untrue, I think voters in the state deserve better than that.
The difference being you don't support embryonic stem cells.
That's exactly true. But that's not what his ad says. And if you look at your community columnist today, who was dead on right, he talked about the diabetics in his family, and he said the only true area of scientific advances when it comes to stem cell research are in adult stem cell research when it comes to diabetic. And actually the vast majority of others out there. But that's just, to me, that's an example of many out there. You look at, even in terms of saying the question of the ad he runs attacking me on the issue of borrowing. Well, anybody who's been around Milwaukee County knows we didn't create the pension crisis, we inherited it. The pension liability was already there. What we did was use something that the Greater Milwaukee Committee's panel on Milwaukee County, the Governor's Task Force in Milwaukee County, the Comptroller of the City of Milwaukee, who works with the mayor, all said it was a good idea. We issued pension obligation bonds and essentially doing what any of you would do in refinancing your homes at a better rate and save the taxpayers $237 million. That's not what his ad says.